Welcome to the Tesla Power Podcast, the unofficial Tesla energy community covering solar panels, solar roof, and Powerwall for your home. I'm Aaron Brady. Today, let's talk about Tesla HVAC. Let's talk about a large-scale residential Tesla energy deal. Let's talk about Tesla Energy launching in China. And let's talk about that Solarglass Roof payback period. I made a huge mistake. Let's do it. We kick it off this week with audience participation time. It's this portion of the pod that we use for questions, for comments, for community input, and you can participate in two ways. You can call 203-816-5150 and leave a message, or you can record your message, video, audio, email it to teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com. Our question this week, Randy Hawkins writes, "You're doing a great job. Suggestion, when you show articles, please use as much of the screen as possible, like you do with PDFs. It's hard to read the numbers if they're tiny," end quote. And Randy, you're absolutely right. You'll see I've done more prep in this show to make sure that the stats and the numbers are big enough so that they're easily read. That should make it easier to follow along as I'm walking through the details in the news and the details of the payback period of our solar glass roof. Thanks for your input. It is really helping make the podcast better. And that's it. That's the comment this week. If you have something to contribute, please do. More input we get, the more useful the pod will be for those looking into Tesla residential energy products. Now, let's get to the news. Electrek reports on more tweets from Elon responding to questions about a possible Tesla HVAC system. Quote, "Oh man, home HVAC, that is super energy efficient, quiet, purifies the air, would be great. We developed it for the car, but it can be scaled up for home use," end quote. Now, this isn't the first time he's tweeted about this as a possibility. In fact, this may have been originated from his conversation with Joe Rogan and his first guest appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. I mean, if we look at this whole thing from a pure efficiency perspective, a highly efficient, highly intelligent system would go a really long way to conserving energy use in the home. In fact, if I open my Tesla app and take a look at some stuff, I want to show you, the difference between when we were using the air conditioner and when we weren't. I think we've got data all the way back to May. Yeah, there we go. It's catching up to me. So if we go in and we check out, I think I need to have that program in the foreground so it refreshes quickly. So if we go to Power Flow, and we can see, by month, the power usage. For May, we didn't really use the air conditioner at all in May. And you can see that the scale goes up to 57 kilowatt hours. But if you go into June, you see that it goes all the way up to 130 kilowatt hours. So we use a tremendous amount of energy to cool the house. When we first turned on our system, you'll see the usage was below our production from the solar roof each day. Of course, when we kicked on the AC, going back to May, I mean, we didn't generate a lot in May, but you can see at the end of May when we started generating, we were generating more than we were consuming generally. And that was true for some of the days in June until, of course, we kicked the AC on. Our usage started to, far outstrip our production. And now I would say it's pretty rare for us to outproduce our consumption. And, of course, the best way to reduce your energy bill is to reduce your consumption. We don't have peak demand rates with United Illuminating, which is unusual, I would say, in this country, but we do have variable rates, and you might guess that the variation results in higher rates during the summer. I mean, it might be obvious. Now, because we aren't able to peak shave, we're limited in the amount we're able to save with our solar system. In fact, there's really no pricing advantage to having the Tesla Powerwalls for us. The only advantage we currently get is the energy security in case of a power outage. And, I mean, very interestingly, we we had a power outage. Sorry, if we go back to the main energy gateway, you can see in the main window, if it'll catch up to me. We'll go under backup history, and we can see on June 19th, we had a power outage. Didn't even know it. This was during Father's Day weekend. The only reason we know about it, obviously, is because of the app. You can see the event here in the list. Now, we had a big get-together with great-grandpa and the rest of the family, which started outside when the rain started. We all went inside, kept the party going in there. And if we had lost power, that would have been a couple dozen people indoors with no AC, no lights, no entertainment, right? But I digress. The energy efficiency of a Tesla HVAC system would be a great help in reducing our overall consumption. And we'd recover some of the still, 40% deficit estimated that we'll see over a year's worth of solar production. So if the system were more intelligent, it may also be possible to limit its power draw to match available solar production or battery storage, but that would be at the sacrifice of comfort, presumably. If we take a wider view on the Tesla HVAC system beyond just efficiency, it may be able to provide like fresh water as a byproduct, from the coolant condensing the air around it and collecting the moisture that collects on the cooling elements. Now, it's not a huge benefit, but something to add to the value proposition of a Tesla HVAC system. Elon also mentioned cleaning the air. I mean, I don't know. This is something every AC system does already. I mean, perhaps there's a little room for a bigger filter, but at some point, the filter is going to need to be small enough to get it into your attic so you can install it. I mean, I guess you could put the whole thing outside. I don't know. It's interesting, but definitely not a huge value add from my perspective. If you feel differently, let me know in the comments. Now, I found a really cool resource here. This is called PickHVAC.com, and it points out different use cases between AC and heat pumps. They point out that in addition to lower upfront costs, AC may be the right choice if you don't need to use it for heating the home. Certainly, a heat pump system will struggle to heat effectively as gas or even electric. They'll heat just fine in extreme cold temperatures. If it gets cold enough, a heat pump can't work at all. So one thing they point out that I thought was very, very interesting was this this thing called an inverter air conditioner. I mean, this isn't brand new or anything. It's just something I'd never heard of as a layperson. So rather than the compressor being full on and full off being the only two options, they can vary the compressor to match the cooling requirement. There's even a nice little chart here, or a nice little graphic where they show, and this thing's struggling, where they show, a single stage compressor just goes 0 to 100. Two-stage compressor goes 65% and 100 in addition to 0. And then there's the variable capacity that can vary anywhere from 40% up to 100%. I would say that all of this intelligence seems right up the alley of Tesla HVAC, and it may open the possibility of offering, something more than only a heat pump solution with Tesla HVAC. But, ultimately, this sort of decision's down to efficiency gain versus the cost of the system. For new homes, this would make a ton of sense. But there's a bit of calculating to do for existing homes. It's fun to speculate, though, on whether Tesla will have something to offer here. Next up, we can see, next article is Electrek also reporting on new home development. So speaking of new homes, Electrek also reports on a deal signed between Tesla and Alset eHome to provide the full complement of Tesla home energy products. They're going to have the solar panels, the Powerwall Plus, and wall chargers for electric vehicles. This will be for a new community in Porter, Texas. I pulled that up on Google Maps. You can see that here. They're just north of Houston. This is, of course, following the tremendous failure of the Texas electricity grid earlier this year. And it's a value add for the developer looking to provide energy security for new home buyers. The deal is expected to have a total of 100 homes with Tesla solar and batteries in 2021 alone. That project could deliver over 600 new homes over the next few years total with both solar and batteries. So I'm interested to know what kind of premium these homes might be able to fetch with these amenities. Where this sort of decision is hard for an owner of an existing home, like I said before, it's much easier for new home construction. What I love about this is that it's not a legislated or mandated project. California is now mandating solar on all new construction, but this development is a result of market forces. Customers demand energy security, home builders deliver. What's even better about this being market driven is that it distributes the risk, both on the investment side and on the power generation side. So if everyone's self-sufficient in their energy production and consumption, society as a whole is a lot more stable and resilient. Highly concentrated power is a systemic risk in all sorts of modalities. Electricity, no exception. So great to see this trend toward distributed energy generation and self-sufficiency. And last this week, Electrek reports on Tesla Energy's launch in China. Now, on one hand, this seems a bit late since China is the largest market for photovoltaics, but considering it's also the largest producer of photovoltaics, you might ask if Tesla even has a chance to compete. At the end of 2020, China accounted for like a full third of the world's total installed capacity. I've got this article from Wikipedia showing solar power in China. If we take it full screen, you can see they break down several aspects of the Chinese solar market, noting that nearly half of its capacity is distributed. So that's this chart down here, right here. Solar PV by type, power plant versus distributed. Though very little of that is expected to be residential, like you would expect it to be in the United States, especially in the way we think of residential. We think of this in terms of single-family homes. But if we go to Century 21, their global site, and we search in China, you'll see that there are about 60,000 listings, 58,155 down here in the corner. Let's take it full screen again. And all of those listings are apartments. There's not even a single family home option to check. Right here, property type, only apartments. Interesting also, there's not a single exterior shot in any of the photos showing these listings. There's not a lot of photos to begin with. And there's this one exception, of course, in this super expensive space, but they're just showing an outdoor space that you can enjoy on the property. It's not showing the building exterior. It's only interior shots. Now, I presume that curb appeal means nothing in China, right? It's, if you're not going to see the outside, or if it's going to be an apartment building, you don't care about the outside of that apartment building. So I don't know. I wonder if that might be different in rural China, but I don't know enough about the country to get a feel for that. But what I can say is that energy storage hasn't been a very big part of the China energy plan. Where I expect Tesla Energy China to have the greatest impact is in battery storage to complement the large-scale deployments that they've already made. That includes, power, centralized power plants and distributed solar capacity. You might guess correctly that it's not going to be the battery cells themselves that Tesla brings the most value to. They're sourcing from any manufacturer with cells to spare. CATL is, the second biggest cell manufacturer, I think, behind Tesla and Panasonic at the moment. The value, though, that Tesla is going to bring is in the inverter, in their battery management system, in the way they package the solutions, and in the software solutions that will allow those battery storage systems to be deployed at scale. Now, what does that mean for residential Tesla Energy products in the Western world? Well, it probably means more cell constraint for longer, which kind of sucks. This probably means continued high prices for battery storage and we're going to have to continue to offer incentives to drive adoption. Now, what's the best thing we can do to alleviate this? We should be building more battery factories. I mean, if we can build them locally, it's a win on both sides of the economic scale. We get more jobs and we get lower prices on those products. Now, don't get me wrong, there are tons of energy options available. It doesn't have to be all solar and batteries for everybody, but the more independence each household has and the more households we can bring in to participate, the better things are for everyone. It's hard to come up with a more independent approach available to more people than solar and batteries as a combo. So, I mean, go find a river to live on or put up some wind turbines if you can. I'm even down for you to drill an oil well if that makes sense. But I'll bet that most people will find solar with batteries is the best option amongst them. So that wraps the news segment this week. Let's take a break and dig back into the pricing and value proposition of our solar roof project. Where did I go so horribly wrong? So I got out and took some wider shots of our Solarglass roof installation this weekend. Let me pull those up. It wasn't awesome outside, but if I take it full screen, you can see the front of the house here. You can see where I've pulled some weeds on the right side, which looks great. I still need to get some mulch out there. I had pulled the weeds on the left side, but those weeds grew back thicker and angrier the second time, which sucks. Also, I'm just using like a selfie stick to shoot the video. I don't have any drones or anything like that, so I didn't frame the rest of this one very well. But if we go toward the end, we can see some more interesting stuff. But nice contrast. You can see the light color from the clouds in the skies reflecting off of the roof. I think it looks really, really nice. So I wanted to run a couple of these videos to show how it looks in comparison to an integrated how the integrated roof compares with the look of traditional solar. And I have another video that shows the back of the house here, and it's just great. And it fits the aesthetic of the building very well. You don't always get that with the Tesla solar roof. If you're gonna have like a Spanish roof or something like that, this isn't gonna work very well. But I would say that if you're going to have some kind of like slate style roof, that the current iteration of the Tesla solar roof would probably complement quite well. So more shaky video for you. But I also wanted to pull up the contract and the layout of the roof, remind you guys what we got and how much we ultimately paid for that system. So let's pull that up. If I can find it. All right, so let's start with the layout. Here's that full layout. It's showing what we purchased and where it's been installed. It's a 13.5 kilowatt system. It's covering more than 3/4 of our roof. With active tiles, it's quite a bit. I mean, we don't have that much room to grow, and as I mentioned earlier, we're still at a 40% deficit estimated over a year. Here's the contract again. You can see that we paid a total of $59,399.66 out of pocket, with a total due after install of $57,949 even. So to review the roof's production lifetime, it's expected to be 25 years, and we'll calculate that using the guaranteed minimum performance written in the contract. Just like last time, we'll hold electricity rates constant at 30 cents per kilowatt hour for the entire 25 years of our base case scenario. So let's look at that spreadsheet. Solar roof spreadsheet. And if we look at the full system, I do map out all three scenarios here. You'll see that the most aggressive is red, the average is gray, and the most conservative is blue on the bottom. So let's bring that full screen so you can actually see it. We've plotted these functions based on the kilowatt hour used at our house. That's the real usage from last year. And here's the big reveal. We didn't include the incentives to calculate our payback period. That's crazy. I used even more conservative figures than I thought. You can see I've added the price after incentives, and that brings the total down to $43,955 and pulls our payback period forward about 5 years. That's just about a 10-year payback. Really, we're looking at 12 years in the most conservative scenario, but that's still pretty great. Don't forget that the batteries aren't contributing to our payback period at all. And as I pointed out last time, this doesn't even take into account non-monetary benefits of the system, right? Looks great, aesthetics, you get energy security, there's a cool factor. The environmental waste of tearing this roof off won't be nearly as bad. The longevity of the roof. I mean, this was already a stellar value, and it's actually even better than I had originally calculated. So taking it further, if we go back to the spreadsheet, we can pull out the batteries in this calculation, and you can see that the ROI is a shocking 8 years. Over the life of this home, or over the life of the roof, sorry, this roof will pay for itself 3 times over, meaning it will pay for itself and pay for 2 more roofs. You can't lose. It's so good. Like I pointed out last time, we're not down to the standard panels pricing, so there's certainly room for improvement, but the overall value of the Solarglass Roof is even better than I thought. And we had some families over a couple days ago. The dads were pretty pumped about the new roof. It's adulthood initiation complete when you start getting excited about roofs. One of the families just put in solar. They put in a small system. I think it's like 6.5 kilowatts. They've got a ton of trees around, so I'm not sure they're going to see payback on that system. But they did tell me that they're not really looking to pay for the system. They're really hoping to offset some of the electricity they use to fuel their Model 3. So everyone's got their own motivation to go solar, right? So let me know what you're looking to do and how you're calculating or justifying the cost benefit. I'm very curious. How many of you already have electric cars and are looking to basically offset your increased electricity usage? Is anyone willing to admit they just want to be cool and don't care as much about the roof covering its costs? I mean, maybe you're like us, right? And it was primarily wanting to be cool, but you're able to use energy security to justify the cash layout, i.e. convince your wife, your creative director wife, it was in her interest to spend the money. For shame. No one would ever do that. Ever, right? Anyway, that wraps episode 9 of the Tesla Power Podcast, the unofficial Tesla energy community. I'm Aaron Brady. Now, last I heard, there's no more referral program, but in case there is, you should use my code. It's in the description. If you're looking at any Tesla products, you can save a few bucks and get some free supercharging by going to ts.la Aaron62310 when you order. Now, did you fall asleep and this thing made it all the way to the end by accident? Don't care. More of that. I'm not too proud to talk to myself. And let's do this again next week.